Good morning, everybody. I gotta tell you, this is the nicest city in the world. I'm so happy to be here. My name is Jess Marble. I am joining you from Care for Business. We are the enterprise division of care, and our mission is to help every employer provide family care benefits so all of your employees never have to decide between choosing to care for the ones they love or showing up to work for you. Before I dive into some new research, though, I want you to get to know me. Between the years of 2020 and 2022, I decided it was the perfect time to buy a new house. Did anybody else go on that journey with me? Yes. You know how competitive it was. You were making offers before you even saw a house, or maybe you saw the house for a brief 30 minutes. After 2 years, we finally found the perfect home. It had the acreage, it had the space, but it needed some improvements. We decided we were going to take 2 weeks off of work, which gave us 17 days to get the house into tip-top shape before our movers came. I made a list of things that we needed to fix, and I didn't realize how much that actually was. I'm a really big dreamer, you see, but this was a big dream, and in 17 days, oh, wait, there's more. In 17 days, I had to accomplish a lot. And we got in there on day 1 or 2, and we realized, look, we were aiming high, and this was not gonna work. So before the movers came, oh, sorry, there was one more. Before the movers came, we decided we needed to recalibrate. We needed to recalibrate and understand, given the time and the resources and the money that we had in 17 days, what could we realistically accomplish? Now, by this point, you're saying, Jess, that's really great. Congratulations on your new house. What does this have to do with HR and benefits? Well, according to our latest research, you all are recalibrating too. Every year we survey over 500 HR and benefit leaders, and we ask them about their priorities for the coming year. We ask them what they're prioritizing and why they're prioritizing, and in the past 3 years, since 2020, there's been an evolving narrative given the world that we've been living in. Today I'm going to share that research with you. What we saw first was that 95% of you in this room said that you are in fact recalibrating your benefits. And nearly half of you said that you are trimming your benefits. This isn't a surprise. We're facing uncertainty, perhaps a downturn in our economy. And when it comes to evaluating the resources and the investments that we're making, we're all being a little bit conservative. We asked you, when you're recalibrating your benefits, what is it exactly that you're focusing on? Well, 53% of you said that you are recalibrating your benefits to enable productivity in your workforce. 49% of you said that you are recalibrating your benefits to enable retention in your workforce, and this makes sense. When we have to cut budgets and cut resources, you need the employees that you have to be productive, and you need them to stay. Because inefficient employees and employees that are turning over are not going to help you during this time. We then asked you, who are you designing your benefits for? And this one, I don't really like the answer to this. You can see that most employers are designing their benefits for their professional and knowledge-based office employees. And as you go down, you're starting to see descriptions of employees that most likely need the most support from your employee benefits. Your hourly workforce, your frontline employees, your gig economy or your contractors, those that truly are the roots to your workforce and are helping to make your engines hum. Next in our survey, we said, okay, so we understand that you're recalibrating your benefits. We understand that you have to make changes. We understand that those changes need to support your goals of increasing productivity and retaining top talent. So what are you cutting? Here's what you told us. You're cutting the benefits that maybe don't have as big of an impact on your workforce. Here's what I mean by that. Cutting commuter benefits or cutting gym memberships has a much smaller impact, meaningful impact on employees than taking away childcare, than taking away senior care, than taking away the ability to care for those that they love most so they can show up and work for you. What's staying, spoiler alert, childcare and senior care continue to be prioritized, and this has not changed year over year since we all had that realization during the pandemic. 46% of employers and 43% of employers say they are prioritizing their child and senior care benefits this year, and that is up from last year. So even during times when our budgets are tight, when we're asking employees to come to work, be more productive with fewer resources, and please don't leave because we value your knowledge so much, we really need you to work, they're still prioritizing child and senior care. I hope by now you understand that there's a baseline that I'm talking about. I'm talking about the business impact of caregiving benefits. I've had the pleasure of speaking with a few of you so far. And some of you had said, oh, we have really tight budgets this year, or we've had to cut care benefits because they were too expensive, or we can't afford it, but we're thinking about implementing an on-site daycare center. Okay, let's talk about the business impact of caregiving benefits, and then I want you to tell me how these aren't affordable. Tell me how implementing something like an on-site daycare is truly the most effective, scalable, and equitable option for your workforce. But first, you have to understand why I'm incredibly passionate about this problem. 50 million workers have a child under 14, and 25% of parents struggle with finding childcare. Here's more. 73% of your workforce, 73% of you in this room are a primary caregiver for an adult or child loved one. I'd like you to raise your hands. How many of you have a child under the age of 15 at home right now? Keep your hands up. How many of you serve as keep your hands up. How many of you serve as a primary caregiver for an aging loved one? Keep your hands up. How many of you, because of your child or elder caregiving responsibilities, have ever had to call out of work, have ever had to be distracted at work, have ever been in a meeting and then you get that ping from a doctor that you need to drive your mom to the appointment, or school is closed, or God forbid, there's a nosebleeds that can't be stopped, so you have to come pick them up from school? Anybody relate to that? From my perspective, more than 73% of you have raised your hands, and that's just you. So for the rest of this conversation, I want you to think about at least one of your employees that perhaps is in the same exact scenario. 51% of our country is called a child care desert. Does anybody know what that means? A child care desert means for every 5 children, there is only 1 licensed daycare slot available. Now in this city, the nicest city in the world, like I said when I first started, 70% of Minneapolis is in a child care desert. Since 2020, 16,000 daycare centers, 16000 daycare centers shut down. 25% of them are not going to reopen. Oftentimes when people approach me and they say, oh yeah, we support working parents, we have an awesome leave program, I say, good start. But those children are going to grow up. And those parents who are caring for those children likely have elder loved ones that they have to care for too. 1 in 6 of them actually care for an aging loved one. And 70% of those caring for an aging loved one suffer work-related difficulties. Think about this. We throw baby showers, we provide gifts every single time one of our colleagues has a baby, but have any of you made a diaper tower out of adult diapers for your employees? Have any of you celebrated the fact when a parent has to move back in with their child because they can't care for themselves? That is the unspoken pressure that our employees are facing when they're caring for an aging loved one. We know this is a significant problem because employees don't even identify as a senior caregiver until it's too late. So when you're taking your parents to doctor's appointments, or you're helping your in-laws recover after that surgery, you are a senior caregiver, and you're starting that journey. The economic impact of these caregiving challenges is absolutely undeniable. There has been a reduction of women in the workforce. In 2020, we were riding high. More than 51% of the workforce was female. We did it. We were starting to climb. And the pandemic came and it pushed us right back down because 25% of women who left the workforce since the pandemic said it was primarily because of childcare issues. We know that there's a higher attrition of working parents because of their childcare issues. In fact, nearly 20% had to leave the workforce to solely focus on those issues specifically. We know that companies and employees are losing billions every single year because of absenteeism and lost productivity due to childcare. But wait, the problem doesn't start there because it extends to senior care too. I think my slide says employees lose $3 trillion in wages. And not one of us in this room can afford to lose those wages right now. We also know that senior caregivers have heightened attrition. 1/3 of senior caregivers have voluntarily left their job because of that. Senior care is a complicated web. You can go to Barnes & Noble and you see books everywhere on how to raise a child. But there's nobody who's guiding you on how to negotiate with your siblings on where the best place is to put mom, or how to negotiate with your mother when your father is actually the one who really needs the help, but she doesn't want to let him go. Senior care is complicated and it's consuming the minds of your workforce. Millennials are the largest generation in the workforce right now, and millennials are also the largest generation in the sandwich generation. The generation that cares for their children and also their aging loved ones. So we asked employers in our survey after we said, okay, you're reprioritizing benefits and we understand that you're prioritizing childcare and senior care, but if you could only choose one, because that's my favorite game, if you could only choose one, what would you choose? And this year, for the first time ever, they said senior care. That tells us something. It tells me that employees are starting to speak up. I hope that's the case. I hope since the pandemic, they've started to recognize that they can advocate for what they need to come and deliver for you. But it also tells me that employers are starting to implement childcare benefits, so it just may not be the biggest pain point anymore. Now, don't get me wrong. There are a lot of employers who need to catch up on this childcare game. When I started at Care for Business 6-7 years ago, we only provided benefits to the most elite of employers. Law firms, professional service companies, big tech, those who had the excess money to provide to the benefits because they thought that this was a privileged benefit that you can offer. But now, with over 700 employers in our workforce, we're supporting employers that truly represent the demographics of the American workforce we see today. We see nurses and doctors using our benefits. We see baristas using our benefits. We see employees on the manufacturing line using our benefits, because regardless of where you work, you have a caregiving need. In fact, more than 73% of you in this room do. So we asked employers, well, what is the perceived benefit of investing in these benefits? 32% say, well, we believe that it helps to recruit and retain top talent, and 29% say they believe that it helps to drive productivity, which, if you remember, about 10 minutes ago, I told you those were the biggest priorities when designing your benefits strategy. I've thrown a lot of data at you. I want to talk to you about how you can start to advocate for change right now to implement solutions for your employees this year. You do not have to wait for open enrollment. You do not have to wait for 2024, and you do not have to implement an on-site childcare center. Here's what I want you to do first. Take a picture of this. This is a QR code that you can use to download a survey template. When you're surveying your employees, there's a little bit of art and science that goes into this. Please do not ask your employees what benefits they want. They're not in this room. They don't know what benefits exist. They don't know what benefit providers are out there. You need to ask your employees, what's distracting you? What is keeping you up at night? What gives you the most stress outside of work? That's going to pinpoint some needs that you may not have been aware of. You can download this template. You can customize it as you see fit. There's some survey best practices in there, but I'm going to give you a few now. One, use your managers. Your managers in every single industry that you work with are the front line to your employees. They're the ones who will advocate for participation. They're the first ones who know about caregiving problems in that employee's life, and they're the ones that can help you drive adoption of a survey. So you say, okay, great, Jess, I'm gonna serve for my employees. Got it, check, done. Next, you need to advocate for care. Every single one of you has a boss, and every single one of your bosses want to know, what is the ROI of implementing these benefits? Well, all of the research that I talked about today is right here in this report, plus more. You can measure the impact of caregiving benefits a few ways. First, I'm sure some of you track productivity. Track lost productivity. Look at your productivity, look at the missed days for work, look at the reasons for those missed days for work, and you're going to see that a lot of people are missing work, particularly when school is closed, because of caregiving issues. Compare that productivity data to the survey data, and I bet you're gonna find some trends. Another thing that you can look at is your exit survey data. You can look at the trends that you see with the champions in your organization, and you can look at your recruiting data. When people are joining your company, are they saying, I joined your company because you have competitive benefits. I left my previous company because they didn't offer me childcare benefits. You're going to see those trends. Next, you need to evaluate the market. Now, I may be a little biased, care.com/business. Care.com/business. I may be a little biased, but there are tons of providers out there that can help you. You need to find the right provider for your employees and the very specific needs that they tell you about in your survey. It's incredibly overwhelming right now to evaluate the marketplace for benefits, and I understand that. But there are a few things that I want you to consider. I want you to consider flexibility. You and you and you in the green shirt and you in that yellow jacket, you all have different caregiving needs. So if your caregiving solution is a one-size-fits-all, bring your children age 5 to 12 to our daycare center, you, my friends, are not checking that box. Employees care for pets, employees care for children of every age, they care for senior caregivers, they care for themselves, and you need something that scales that spectrum. You also need to give employees the power to choose. Now, you choose the health insurance programs that you offer, you choose the EAP programs that you offer, but you don't have the power to choose where employees feel comfortable sending the ones they love for care. They may not want to take their child to a daycare center. They may not want a nanny to come into their home. You need to design a program that gives them the option of choice so they use that program, so they're productive at work, so they stay in your workforce. Next, I want to talk about accessibility. Should you have an on-site daycare center, that's great, and that's one of the things that you can offer, but if you're giving priority access to your executives, that's not a very accessible option. You need to make sure that the options that you implement are affordable. More than 20% of the American workforce spends more than 70% of the American workforce spends more than 10% of their annual income on childcare. 50% of the American workforce spends more than 20% of their annual income on childcare. Affordability of the programs that you offer are essential. The next thing that I want you to think about is scalability. I think so far I've had the pleasure of speaking with about 10 of you. I think 5 of you are remote equal. I think 3 of you said you're returning to the office. I think 2 of you said that you are fully in the office. It's incredibly important that you provide options that are where your employees are. If they have to drive 45 minutes to your site to get to the daycare center, they're not coming to work that day. I am incredibly passionate about the mission of making sure that every single one of your employees has child and senior care benefits, because it is the only way that we are going to propel the mission of keeping women in the workforce. It's the only way that we are going to bring our economy back to a healthy place. If there's anything I can do to help continue this conversation with you, I would love to. I will be here all day. My name is Jess. Thank you for spending this time with me.